Hello everyone, this is Anthony John Agnello, Senior Social Editor at GamesRadar Plus. Without music, said philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, life would be a mistake. And brother, he wasn't kidding. Where would we be without songs? Without killer beats and struck piano keys, crazy brass, breezy woodwinds, and the sweet fury of stroked strings on violins, guitars, and more. I know this much. Our games would suck. From the primitive but expressive sound chips of 1980s consoles to the full instrumentation available to game musicians today, video games have been producing original tunes that defy classification. These are the 7 greatest soundtracks in video game history. Chrono Cross. Time has been kind to Chrono Cross, the spiritual successor, sort of not really, sequel to Chrono Trigger. Derided early on by many fans because of its shift in tone and expansive cast, it's enjoying a renaissance these days thanks in part to its only feature that always enjoyed a unanimous praise: its soundtrack. Composer Yasunori Mitsuda returned to the series, but traded in the synthesizer-focused style of Trigger for an intense acoustic blend, mixing Celtic strings, Caribbean rhythms and percussion, and even Stephen Reich-style minimalist orchestration. Haunting folk songs like Radical Dreamers sit next to down-tempo ambient like Chronopolis and laid-back themes like Fields of Time, whose steel drums make you want to just kick back. Scars of Time, its main theme and intro song, blends all of Chrono Cross's disparate styles into a driving wash of strings, woodwinds, and percussion that is impossible to resist. KATAMARI DAMACY. KATAMARI DAMACY wastes zero time getting weird, as its PlayStation 2 memory card setup screen plays a stripped-down a cappella version of the theme song Katamari Nana. What follows is pure auditory joy, the musical equivalent of bathing in a sea of multicolored jelly beans and rainbows. Combining elements of jazz and big band, electronic music, J-pop, and piling on a heaping helping of strange, Katamari Damacy's soundtrack could have been a total mess of genres and styles. But like the big old ball of stuff the diminutive prince pushes around, all of the music just fits together, forming one incredible cohesive package. I bet you can't hide that grin while listening to Lonely Rolling Star, or keep your feet from tapping to The Moon and the Prince, or stop yourself from singing the bizarre lyrics to Que Sera Sera. Katamari Damacy's tunes want to wad you up into its life. And who are you to say no?
Let's roll up to be a single star in the sky. I hear you calling me. I wanna word you up into my life.
Mega Man X. Mega Man's adventures on the NES raged pretty hard, chock full of essential chiptune jams that remain foundational to the style. While those soundtracks rocked hard, and Mega Man himself was made of metal, it wasn't until Mega Man X that the soundtracks became totally metal. When Central Highway starts in the very first seconds of the game, it's a miracle that the wailing guitars don't literally set your hair on fire. If it did, though, the rest of the soundtrack would just burn the entire world to cinders with its sheer rock prowess. Armored Armadillo sounds precisely like the sort of crazy rave-up a deranged robot would write if the only song they'd ever heard was The Cure's Why Can't I Be You? The Mega Man X series continued to produce great soundtracks, but nothing in the whole thing rocked this hard before or since. Seriously, Central Highway, so badass. Metroid Prime. The original Metroid trilogy produced some of the most iconic game music ever made. Hip Tanaka's Brinstar, Ryoji Yoshitomi's ripping Metroid 2 soundtrack on Game Boy, and Kenji Yamamoto's eerie, propulsive work on Super Metroid are the definitive oral landscape of side-scrolling exploration games. Yamamoto's work on Metroid Prime, though, is in a class all its own. MIDI compositions that capture the ruined grandeur of alien planet Talon 4 are propped up by bizarre instrumentation and profound emotion. Chozo Ruins is a jittery mix of funk and 50s pulp cinema sound effects, while Phendrana Drifts is a glassy piano soundscape supported by, like all songs on the Prime soundtrack, what sounds like a synthesized theremin. The title theme is, like the whole game, bizarre, alien, and beautiful. Castlevania 3. From the very first screen of the original on the Famicom Disk System, Castlevania has been known for absolutely bitchin' songs, but if there is a peak to Mount Castlevania, it must be Castlevania 3. Whether listening to the Famicom version bolstered by a unique sound chip, or the stripped but no less spectacular NES version, these tunes capture every mood the series is capable of. Beginning rocks harder than almost everything else, while Mad Forest lays down an absolutely irresistible groove. Prelude, the dusky theme that plays as soon as you turn on the game, is also the very first moment that the music starts to hint at its potential for real gothic beauty. Silent Hill 3. Akira Yamaoka's soundtracks, thick stews of rock, trip-hop, industrial, drone, and even more styles, are almost as famous on their own as the games they appear in. When the furiously plucked mandolin gives way to beats, guitar, and piano in the Silent Hill theme song, Yamaoka establishes a signature sound as unmistakable as Prince's guitar. While Silent Hill 2 comes close, Silent Hill 3's soundtrack is the crown jewel in the Yamaoka discography. The quiet, lulling guitar strums of End of Small Sanctuary lead into a plucked counter melody that sounds like an afternoon nap as conceived by Joy Division. The shuffling menace of Breeze in Monochrome Night uses cresting, looping piano to create an air of furious ecstasy that's never given proper release. And then there's You're Not Here, a rock song so pure you can practically feel Chrissie Hynde nodding in approval as it plays.
To you, my body aches now that you're gone. My supply fell through. You let me give me everything you had and more. You craved my happiness when you made me feel.
Streets of Rage 2. There's a reason why Yuzo Koshiro's name is front and center on the Streets of Rage 2 title screen. He's a god among game composers. Taking cues from 80s and 90s action flicks, Detroit House, and the Eurobeat scene, Koshiro worked magic on the Genesis's FM synth sound chip and crafted a soundtrack that's equally appropriate for the side-scrolling beat-em-up as it is at home at any dance club. You could probably mix the song Dreamer into a house music set and no one would bat an eye. It's one thing to listen to great video game soundtracks. It's another to listen to one so infectious that you're tapping your foot and humming its techno-synth melodies long after you've turned your console off. Streets of Rage 2's soundtrack isn't just good video game music, it's the very definition of fresh. Who can forget Go Straight, which will go down in history as one of the most memorable first stage tracks of all time. If you've listened to this music and watched this video on GamesRadar, then you might be wondering where the hell your favorite game soundtrack is. We actually have a far more expansive feature on the best video game soundtracks of all time at GamesRadar.com. If you want to read that, go there, and if you want more features like this, follow GamesRadar right here at youtube.com/GamesRadar.